Hey guys, Dax here with a quick 5-minute update. We're also going to be looking at what is to come for this week because it is Sunday night. Now, the first thing you probably need to know is that the New York Stock Exchange is going to be closed on Monday because it is a bank holiday, long weekend in the US. So they will not be open. These days are usually really low volatility and not really much happens. All the commodities markets are pretty much closed as well as the SPX 500 and NASDAQ, etc. Right, so expecting a pretty slow day on Monday, but then it could heat up towards the end of the week. Now, on Friday, I was fairly bearish on the markets and expecting a bit of a sell-off. We did get that sell-off on the Friday, but then what happened, because we broke this uptrend through here, what happened is we ended up putting an SFP of this previous doji candle, a couple of candles to the left, right? So let's zoom in and have a quick look at that on the lower time frames and see what happened. Basically, we came down and we swept this low through here. So there's a whole bunch of liquidity underneath this area, right? Some people call that sell side liquidity or just a pool of liquidity, right? There's stop losses in there. There's liquidations in there, and the market makers algorithms which run the market came down, swept that level, stopped a whole heap of people out. Also would have caused a whole heap of people probably to panic sell or try and short below support, and then they get trapped and the market sort of reverses and heads in the other direction. We also got a Morningstar reversal set up here as well, which ended up being quite a bullish close moving into the last couple of hours trading for the week, right? So we also got a bullish divergence here on the 4-hour, right? So it's a pretty easy setup to learn. It's one that I will be teaching you guys if you do come to the course that we're running. So FYI, we're running a course for our Discord group and Facebook community. So if you want to join in on that, there will be a link below in the comments section. You can just fill out the form in there, and then you will get your and you will get the links to the live sessions emailed to you. It's going to be 6 sessions over 3 weeks starting from March 5th. So yeah, basically that's a key little setup that you will learn that has made me a lot of money over the years. Anyway, back to the charts. So now there is potential that we've swept the sell side liquidity down here, that we will then sweep the top of the range, which is known as buy side liquidity, or just, liquidity pool above the range, right? So typically we sweep low, then it can come back up and sweep the high. So that is something to think about coming into next week for the overall general direction of the market. Now, if we get a close on the high time frame, say the daily below this level, because now we sort of have equal lows down here, this could end up coming back up, fail to take out the highs, and then roll over, even if it gets a bit weaker through here, and then we get a strong close below this level. That could be a break of market structure. So we have already closed below this uptrend, right, through here. This might just come up and reject off that level and then roll over, or even put in a bear flag and then roll over, something like that, right? So that's something to take note of, because if we do take out this level and starts opening, closing, and trading below here, I think the next key level to take out is, the sell side liquidity down here, 3,900. And then this is probably the next really large liquidity pool down here for the market to push towards if we do have that swing low. And so what would that look like for BTC? Potentially, we have a pullback to build potentially some sort of a bull flag or something like that, and then push to the upside. Now, if this ends up just being another part of, a larger distribution phase, and then this is a bull trap or something like that, and the stock market does break down next week, I'll be looking for this key level through here, which is pretty much a 4-hour order block, right? If this breaks down, we're going to be looking for price to pull back, I think, at least until this daily support level, and come back and retest our 21K, right? So that's sort of what I've got my focus on for this week. What is ES going to do? Because the other night, what happened is Bitcoin was fairly resistant while the stock market was pulling back pretty much all day after we got the negative PPI numbers came out. Well, they were positive. They were a little bit too positive. They came in very hot, right? And the market started pulling back quite aggressively on the lower time frames. And BTC actually held up pretty nicely for some of that. But as the day went on, it it just dragged on and the sell pressure became too much and we got a big sell-off on BTC. The buyers finally gave up and we got a really big sell-off towards the daily close, right? So in my opinion, if the stock market continues to pull back, probably what most likely will happen is Bitcoin potentially can come back to retest the lows and we go a bit deeper into some sort of accumulation phase, right? This accumulation has already been going on for a long time, right? And, you know, it's pretty much like one giant range, wick off accumulation with another accumulation down here, right? So it could take a little bit longer before it breaks out through here, no doubt. But if we do break out of the top of this range, we do want to be getting involved in this move. We don't want to be getting left behind. So, you know, not really like a position to be selling spot or anything like that. Potential hedges, especially if ES starts to break down and move down back into a downtrend. Now, one thing to sort of take note of, right, is this chart that I've already been squiggling all over, is that so this green line through here, I'll just explain the chart to you. This green line through here is the price of the SP 500, right? And the red line through here is the retail daily net inflows into US equities. And so you can see that retail have been buying extremely aggressively while we've been in this sort of potential distribution phase by smart money, right? So that's one thing to think about. While we've been going through here, retail have pretty much pushed with a price where it would be to around up sort of these levels, right? So if retail are buying extremely aggressively and the price isn't moving up, then who's selling? And it's got to be the smart money. It's got to be the institutions, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, sometimes the institutions get it wrong and the retail players do win, but that happens very rarely. So we have to wait and see what happens, but we can't really expect this to break down and move into a downtrend because we are in an uptrend until we get the confirmation of the breakdown. I did get faked out by this a little bit earlier in the year as well when we had the breakdown and broke through this market structure and it went sideways and then reclaimed that level and we just moved to the upside ever since, right? So eyes on a proper breakdown of this market structure and this rising channel through here as well, because I do believe that that will have a fairly strong pullback on crypto markets, right? Until that does actually confirm, we want to be playing everything to the upside, right? I think at the moment for a lot of altcoins, we're still waiting for the next setup. Some of these altcoins, you know, just really basic TA, like a trend breakthrough here on Illuvium can be a really nice trigger and get over this 4-hour order block through there, right? And push to the upside. That can be a really good trigger for, you know, the next sort of play and move to the upside. The other thing to take note of as well, guys, is when we have big pullbacks on BTC, you want to be looking for those altcoins coming down into key levels that have, you know, been outperforming previously. So this is a chart of Magic, right, which had been on a really strong run before the last pullback that BTC had. And then we pretty much had the same setup here that we did on Bitcoin. So we had that 4-hour bullish divergence that we saw on BTC down here, right? Might be a little bit easier to see on this chart. We had 4-hour bullish divergence through here into a key level, right? 4-hour bull div into a key level, and then ended up taking off quite nicely. And then, so we look at the move on this one. That's pretty much 15%. And now we go and have a look at the move on Magic. That ends up being a pretty much 66, 67% move, right? After pretty much the same setup. So just a little advanced trick for some of you guys out there that are quite, you know, very good traders. If you're basic, don't try doing this sort of stuff. But if you are, what you can do is you can split your trade up. You don't want to be trading too many too many trades are pretty much the same trade, right? But you can take some of the risk that you're going to be putting onto Bitcoin and put some of that onto Magic, and you pretty much get almost a 4, maybe 4.5 multiple return on the trade risk that you put onto this trade versus the risk that you had on the Bitcoin trade, right? So let's just say you're going to do, you know, 5 Bitcoin or something like that long on this trade. Instead, you know, you're going to put maybe like 1 onto the risk, run risk onto Magic here, right? And you sort of split it up that way and you get the larger return on the altcoin, but you still sort of take a similar amount of loss on if you end up getting that position stopped out. What you don't want to do is have the full Bitcoin size and a full size trade on Magic and then a full size trade on, you know, 4 other altcoins, and then they all get stopped out because it's all the same trade and then you take a big loss, right? Other ones that have been moving really nicely we've been watching is Mover. APT, we had to trade from up here, took profit on that one up here, so I've just pulled back to our entry at the moment. So that was a good take profit after sweeping this level through here. And then we had obviously the bearish setup that we got from PPI coming into hot. So yeah, basically we want to be looking at our key altcoins. The other one I wanted to take a look at is Aave. I think that is looking really strong here at the moment in what looks to me like a reaccumulation phase as well, right? So this is probably tilting us a little bit more towards a bullish narrative for BTC and other markets, because that really does look like a really strong reaccumulation with the sweep of the range lows through here, what's known as the spring, and then we're pushed back up, right? So potentially one more pull down and then break up to the upside, and target so I'd be looking for would be this high at 115, and then potentially the next level high up here at 121. And then I would imagine it will go sideways before its next move up if it was going to continue out. But it's coming into a really strong downtrend resistance level, which is pretty much its range high at the moment, right? So keep your eyes on that. Wouldn't be surprised if it did sort of legged up like this and then went something like that. Would make a lot of sense. Okay, that's pretty much it for this update. Hope you guys have a good week. Oh, the last thing I wanted to talk about was DXY ended up closing quite bearish as well on the Friday after a strong push. So that is sort of indicating that this week could be a down week, and yields did sort of the same thing as well. So a little bit of confusion with the smart money markets. If we do look here, big order block here, break out of the falling wedge straight up into the order block with strong rejection on the daily time frame. That's sort of signaling that wants to break to the downside. But later on in the week, if it does end up getting over that and moves above this 4.735 level, I would expect this to start to push the upside very aggressively, and we end up having some sort of a move like this. So we're sort of looking at similar price action to back here, right? Because we had that same type setup, you know, sort of like a triangle pattern breakout, chopped sideways for a little bit, messed around at the highs, and it just continued to push. We're sort of doing that same type of thing here. So keep your eyes on this next week, because if the ES starts to break down, that key support level that I showed you where we did the SFP on, that starts to break down and this starts to break up on the 2-year US government bonds, yields are going to go higher, and risk assets will sell off, and probably quite aggressively, to wash out all these retail buyers that just pushed really hard over the last couple of days into the market, right? So usually what happens when you see some crazy numbers like this going through the roof is, you know, there's a lot of liquidity underneath here, in here, and here for the bigger players in the market, the algorithms and the market makers, to sort of force this sort of action while the chart pulls back like this, right? And you take out all that liquidity, it forces a whole heap of sellers, and then from there, you know, the bigger players sort of reload down through here, and then the retail will sort of catch up later to jump on the train after it's already taken off, because retail usually isn't right. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. Hopefully that gave you a good outlook for the week. If you get a lot of value out of our content, please like and subscribe, share this content with your friends, and yeah, feel free to join up to our class if you want to learn more about trading crypto. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.